This is a resolution of the Village of Webster Board of Trustees to authorize the certain improvements to the village wastewater treatment plant for that total cost not to exceed $15,932,275.
Before the board considers that resolution,
Yes, sir.
and since we brought Matt Higgins here,
Yes.
would you care to hear what the increase in the cost was all about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been
I
nice.
think the board would-
That would have been nice when the room was full, maybe explain that.
I would have liked that, yes, when everybody was still in here.
Well,
But, yes, we did.
Sure. Sure. You only got 3 minutes and Daryl's watching.
I'll be brief.
No, I'm just kidding.
That is in your packet, is what he sent me, the cost summary, that's in there, as well as the minutes from our last meeting in your packet.
So yes, thank you for inviting me. My name is Matt Higgins. I'm a civil engineer working out of the Rochester office of Labella. A few years back, the village enlisted Labella to provide professional services for the project, and I'm Labella's project manager, guiding the project forward in cooperation with the village. So I've worked closely with the mayor and Jake and Don and Heather throughout. Sorry. So, I give some context. I came into this project about a week after the board's decision to improve the village wastewater treatment plant due to some reshuffling of folks at the office.
And we're so lucky to have you. Thank you.
So, and I was thrilled to get involved, but to give you background about where that $10.9 million number came from and where things are today, as we sit here and look at that summary, the original cost estimate for that $10.9 million was put together in July 2021. And so it was heavily based on the conceptual project scope at the time in broad strokes, as well as the midpoint of construction in mid-2023 and a 4.5% inflation annually from 2021 to that midpoint of construction, which would be mid-2023. So those are the two biggest factors why we're looking at that. So instead of the 4.5% inflation per year, it's been between July 2021 and now it's been 14%. So on 10.9 million, that's over $1.5 million extra. And then based on the construction period being, obviously the midpoint, it has not begun yet, so the midpoint wasn't mid-2023, the midpoint's probably middle of next year, spring of next year. So we're looking at 2 additional years of inflation impacts there due to that schedule change. So we're essentially doubling that impact. So when we look at 15.9 versus 10.9, a $5 million change, about 3 of it, or a little bit over 3, is purely related to inflation and schedule. Other changes we could point to are very based on regulatory requirements. I won't bore you with minutia of wastewater treatment plant design, but the conceptual project scope at the time of that estimate was put together in the original bond resolution envisioned maintaining the existing 150-foot diameter trickling filter treatment tank and building a 60-footer right next to it. And so, given further engagement during detailed design with the DEC, what they were requiring was true redundancy, meaning that they wanted 2 of those tanks both online all the time, so that if something happens with one, you've got the other one already, the bugs are alive, they're eating the bacteria and the viruses in the wastewater, and the operators can switch right over to sending all flow to that, and you're truly not in an emergency scenario. So when it came time to finalize this design, instead of keeping the existing 150-footer and building a 60-footer next to it, and trying to manage the challenge of balancing those significantly different sized tanks and keeping them both online, both well fed all the time, the decision was made to remove the existing 150-footer and build 2 tanks of the same size. And they're both, I believe the final dimension is 44-foot diameter. So it provides true redundancy. It makes operation of the facility much simpler. It provides reliability. It provides good health for the bugs that are eating the bacteria, and it satisfies the regulatory requirement. But due to that change, it added project cost. So in terms of where does that additional $2 million come from, where, let's say 3 of the 5 is inflation and schedule, the big factor in there is really digging into the details of that final treatment filter design. We, looking at it from our point of view, where we're managing and designing and advancing these projects fairly routinely with communities of this size and at facilities of this size, we never like when a number increases, like we're sitting here talking about today. We do, however, feel good about the competitive bidding process that the village undertook and recently completed. I mean, we saw very high attendance at the pre-bid meeting with contractors, and the village received multiple bids for each of the prime construction contracts. It was 3 general construction bids, 2 electrical, 4 mechanical, and 2 plumbing. So a really good indicator of, is this bid price outrageous, or is it in line with where the industry is right now, is how it compares to other contractors who maybe aren't the lowest responsive bidder, but they also submitted a bid. So the bids were in line with what we thought, roughly it would be before bidding, and then the contractors themselves for those construction contracts were relatively aligned with each other.
Yeah, I think that's important. These aren't engineered estimates any longer.
Yeah.
That 15.9 million, that's the bid price.
Yeah.
So you can be pretty confident that,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
So these are bid numbers with a $1.33 million contingency built into that number. So that's a 10% contingency on the construction costs for unforeseen things that may come up during construction. So, things always come up. When you start digging into the ground, things always happen, things always come up, but that's built into that 15.932 number. Do you have any questions?
Thanks for explaining that.
No, thank you.
Also built into that number is around 90,000 to move the town's sampling point, which wasn't part of the original 10.9. The sampling point where it is now is basically where the flows have combined.
Together,
And since they
yeah.
have to be separated, the town's got to move theirs only because of the village having to have a separate speedies permit, so the village agreed to pay for it. And they've already
Yeah.
they bid all that, so that's a hard number too.
Yeah. I think we tried to do the right things for our residents.
Speedy's permit was obtained March 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
That was 4 minutes.
Sorry.
Part of it was him, though. Part of it was you.
That's true.
Oddly enough, they both filled in a minute.
That's right.
So the resolution is before the board, and I would ask, if there are no other questions, and I would ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Trustee Lancy?
Yeah.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
I'm
Trustee
watching you
Belkey?
guys down there, really. We have kids on board.
Trustee Polito?
Aye.
Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Yay, yay.
Hopefully, by May,
Oh,
we'll be underway.
So now you got to do the bond resolution,
Yes.
the amended bond resolution.
Okay, next we have a resolution to consider the amended bond resolution. Amended and restated bond resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Webster, Monroe County, New York, known as the Village amending and restating in its entirety a bond resolution of the village dated October 10, 2019, as further amended and as restated on August 26, 2021, relating to improvements to be undertaken to the village's wastewater treatment plant, estimating that the total cost thereof is $15,932,275, appropriating said amount therefore, and authorizing the issuance of up to $15,932,275 in serial bonds of the village to finance said appropriation.
Now, included in this 5 or 6 page resolution is the $1.4 million WIA grant. The village has to basically borrow the 15.9, but of that 15.9, 1.4 million is going to get paid back by the grant.
Yeah.
It's just the way New York State works. Also, the resolution, should it be approved or passed, is subject to a permissive referendum by village electors, and it is 20% of the registered voters. Peter, I'm looking at Peter because
It is.
he helped me out with
20%.
this. Of the registered voters in the village as of the last general village election. And they've got, there's a 30-day period to submit a petition seeking with the requisite 20% of the signatures asking for a permissive referendum. That's all.
Also, as part of this, it would be noted that as a result of the expansion of the improvements to be undertaken, which was included in the original project, the board by resolution adopted on August 26, 2021, determined that the 2021 project constitutes a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that no further action is required of the board under seeker in connection with the 2021 project.
Although, if you go to the top of page 2, since this is actually the third bond resolution that the village is taking for this
Correct.
project,
And
the one in 2021, principally because of the second tripling filter, the square footage of the construction project exceeded, it no longer made it a Type 2 action. And instead, it was an unlisted action. But at the time, back in 2021, if you recall, a long-form EAF form was prepared and reviewed by this board, and we came to the conclusion that there was no significant environmental impacts because of the project, so a negative declaration was issued. That's how we cited it. Since that was done back in 2021, and today the project is essentially the same, there's no need to do another seeker resolution.
And again, I think it's important to note that, one, with the 1.4 million that we were granted, and the fact that the entire amount is interest-free at this point, pretty significant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unlike the town's $81 million bond,
You got it.
that carries principally, the village can thank Phillips Village for that. Because it takes the average income of the village below the certain level where
Yeah.
the state gives us special things.
Thank you, Philip.
It's true.
It is true.
It is true.
May not be appropriate.
This is one of the reasons why the town wanted us to join.
You got it.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
this resolution, to consider the amended bond resolution is before the board. A motion to approve
I'll make this
consideration.
I'll second. These guys are just going to sit there.
You already approved it.
Shots
Amended,
fired, Jerry.
this is an amendment. Pardon?
I said shots fired a little over on that end.
I didn't
Trustee
even know-
Lauer?
I didn't even know they were awake up. I thought they were sleeping.
Trustee Lauer?
Aye.
Trustee Lancy?
I do.
Trustee Belkane?
Aye.
Trustee Abolito?
Only because Judy is voting aye. I will vote aye.
Mayor Byers?
Aye.
Motion passes.